Virgo, stop right here. Don't scroll. Because what I'm about to reveal is not for everyone. It's only for the chosen ones. Before the Moon and Saturn lock into their rare and heavy conjunction on October 4th, 2025, something extraordinary has already happened in your life. You may not see it yet. You may not fully understand it. But deep down, you felt it. The shift, the weight, the test. The universe handed you one of the most painful soul challenges you've ever experienced. The kind of trial that leaves you questioning everything, your worth, your path, even your faith. It wasn't small, it wasn't easy, it wasn't fair. But here's the shocking truth. Whether you realize it or not, you've already passed it. And this is where it gets dangerous, because the signs that confirm your victory are not obvious. They hide in plain sight, disguised as pain, loss, or confusion. If you miss them, you risk shutting the door to the miracle that's waiting for you when the Moon and Saturn align. But if you recognize these signs, if you see them clearly, then October 4th will not be just another day on the calendar. It will be your cosmic rebirth. A moment when all the hidden suffering suddenly makes sense. A moment when doors that were locked for years begin to swing open. I need you to hear me clearly, Virgo. This message is not entertainment, it is confirmation. Because out of all the zodiac signs, you were chosen to walk through the hardest fire before this conjunction. That's not coincidence, it's destiny. The next 25 minutes are going to be a revelation. I'm going to walk you step by step through the 8 exact confirmations that prove you survived your darkest trial. Each one is a key, and when you see them, you'll understand why life pushed you to the breaking point, and why you didn't break. So here's the choice. You can keep scrolling and ignore this message, or you can lean in and discover why October 4th is not an ending, but the beginning of your greatest season yet. Virgo, are you ready? Because this is your proof that you are one of the chosen. The very first sign that you passed your soul's most painful test, Virgo, was silence. Not peace, not comfort, not the kind of silence where everything feels serene. I'm talking about the terrifying kind, the silence that feels like abandonment, the silence that makes you wonder if your prayers got lost somewhere in the sky. You called out for help. You asked for answers. You pushed forward with everything you had. And yet, it seemed like nothing responded. Your words fell flat. Your efforts went unseen. The universe, the people around you, even your own intuition, felt quiet. And in that quiet, you felt small, invisible, forgotten. But here's the truth. That silence was not punishment. It was initiation. The universe doesn't go silent to reject you. It goes silent to graduate you. Because silence is the final classroom, the one that tests whether you can still hold your ground when you don't hear applause, validation, or clear signs of progress. You see, Virgo, anyone can keep faith when the universe is loud with blessings, but only the chosen ones can keep faith when the universe is silent. And you did. You didn't give up. You didn't collapse. You kept showing up, even when it felt like nothing was moving. That's proof that you passed the test. Because silence is never emptiness. Silence is strategy. In the silence, the universe was not ignoring you. It was secretly rearranging everything in your favor. While you thought nothing was happening, forces were shifting behind the scenes. Old cycles were being broken, hidden enemies were being exposed, foundations that couldn't carry your destiny were being cleared away. The silence was never absence, it was alignment. So if you've been living in that void, if you've been waking up and thinking, why is it so quiet? Why does it feel like no one is listening? Understand this. The silence itself was your confirmation. You were not being abandoned. You were being trusted. Because only those strong enough to stand alone in the void are strong enough to carry the weight of their true calling. But here's the twist. The silence wasn't the end. It was the build-up. It was the pause before the storm of blessings. And October 4th will prove it wasn't quiet because nothing was happening. It was quiet because everything was being perfectly aligned for you. The second sign that you passed your soul's most painful test, Virgo, was collapse. Something in your life broke down. Maybe it was a job you thought would carry you for years. Maybe it was a relationship you believed was unshakable. Or maybe it was a dream you built brick by brick only to watch it crumble overnight. Most people see collapse as failure. They think, I must have done something wrong. I must have lost my way. But Virgo, for the chosen ones, collapse is never failure. It's clearance. The ground shook under your feet, not to bury you, but to break apart the structures that were never designed to hold your true destiny. Think of it like this. If a building is unsafe, no matter how much you love it, no matter how much time you invested into it, it has to come down before something stronger can be built. And that's exactly what happened in your life. That foundation that cracked this year, it wasn't weakness, it wasn't betrayal, it wasn't the universe punishing you, it was the universe making room for Saturn's restructuring. Because when Saturn shows up in a conjunction like the one on October 4th, it doesn't play small. Saturn removes anything unstable, anything temporary, anything false, so that only what is eternal and aligned can remain. Yes, Virgo, the collapse hurt. It felt cruel, it left you disoriented. But it wasn't destruction, it was construction. It was the tearing down of what could never carry your future, so that the blueprint of your higher purpose could finally begin. And here's something you need to understand. If it collapsed, it was never meant to be permanent. What fell away was not part of your eternal story. It served a chapter, not the whole book. But here's the twist. What left your life wasn't rejection, it was protection. That job, that person, that dream, if it stayed, it would have blocked the miracle that is waiting for you after the Moon-Saturn conjunction. The breakdown was proof of the breakthrough, and October 4th will reveal exactly why what you lost had to go. The third sign that you passed your soul's painful test, Virgo, was when you had to confront your shadow. Yes, the old fears came back. The old addictions whispered. The same toxic cycles you thought you had escaped suddenly stood in front of you again with claws sharper than before. And in that moment, you thought, why is this happening again? Didn't I already heal this? Didn't I already break free? Virgo, that question right there was the proof. Because what you were experiencing wasn't regression. It was examination. The universe doesn't test you on what you've never learned. That would be unfair. The universe tests you on what you've already studied. The reappearance of those shadows wasn't proof that you failed. It was proof that you were ready to graduate. Think about it. When you're in school, you don't take a final exam on lessons you've never seen before. You take the exam on the material you've already been taught. The test isn't there to teach, it's there to confirm mastery. And that's exactly what your soul was facing. When that fear came back, when that temptation resurfaced, when that old wound reopened, you were standing in your spiritual exam room. The question was simple. Would you fall into the same trap again? Or would you choose differently this time? And Virgo, here's the truth. You did choose differently. You didn't go back. You didn't sink into the same pattern. Maybe you felt the pull. Maybe you even stumbled a little, but you didn't surrender to it. That alone is mastery. That is transformation. That is proof that you passed the exam. Your shadow wasn't there to destroy you. It was there to confirm you. You see, the shadow always appears at the threshold of a breakthrough, not because it's stronger than you, but because it guards the doorway. It's the final guardian you must acknowledge before you step into your next level. And by facing it, by refusing to go backward, You showed the universe that you are ready for the miracle waiting on the other side. And Virgo, I need you to understand this. Your shadow is not your enemy. It was never here to curse you. It was here to sharpen you, to force you to prove that you are not the same person you once were, that you are stronger now, wiser now, and untouchable in ways you couldn't even see before. But here's the twist. Your shadow wasn't the villain of this story. It was the last guardian standing between you and your miracle. And when you looked it in the eyes and refused to bow, you unlocked the gate. That's why October 4th is not going to meet you in weakness. It's going to meet you in victory, because you faced the darkest part of yourself, and you won. The fourth sign that you passed your soul's most painful test, Virgo, was isolation. Your circle shrank. The people you thought would always be by your side pulled away. Friends stopped calling. Family misunderstood you. Even the ones who claimed to support you suddenly couldn't see you, couldn't hear you, couldn't walk with you anymore. And in those moments, you felt like a stranger in your own life. You asked yourself, why am I suddenly so alone? Did I do something wrong? Am I being punished? But Virgo, I need you to understand this with every fiber of your soul. Your isolation was not punishment. It was protection. When you're chosen, your path looks different. Destiny cannot be carried by a crowd. Not everyone has the strength, the vision, or the alignment to walk with you into the future you're building. And so, the universe begins to separate. It begins to cut away the voices, the distractions, the relationships that would have blocked your calling. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it felt unfair. But the truth is, those who left were never meant to hold the weight of what you're stepping into. If they stayed, they would have diluted your vision, pulled at your energy, and slowed your growth. The loneliness wasn't a sign of abandonment, it was a sign that you were being prepared. Because the greatest transformations always happen in silence, in solitude, in secret. Think about the butterfly, Virgo. It doesn't transform in the crowd, it transforms in the cocoon, hidden, isolated, completely cut off from the outside world. Why? Because the process is too fragile, too sacred to be witnessed by anyone else. And that's exactly what was happening with you. But here's the twist. Your isolation wasn't a void. It was insulation. The universe was wrapping you in divine covering, hiding you from energies that could have sabotaged your rise. You were not being abandoned. You were being hidden until it was safe to emerge. And when October 4th arrives, the world will realize that the one they thought was forgotten was simply being prepared. Virgo, your season of isolation was proof that you were chosen. And the moment you step forward, the ones who couldn't see you will finally understand why they were never meant to walk with you in the first place. The fifth sign that you passed your soul's painful test, Virgo, was interruption. Your plans broke down. Something you scheduled carefully, something you thought was guaranteed, suddenly collapsed. A flight got delayed. A conversation that could have changed everything was cut short. A project you poured your heart into stalled halfway. And in those moments, you felt the sting of frustration. You told yourself, why is this happening again? Why can't things just flow smoothly for once? Why does life keep blocking me? But Virgo, those interruptions were not sabotage, they were redirection. The universe saw something you couldn't. The door you were walking toward wasn't ready. The people you were depending on weren't aligned. The timing you thought was perfect would have been premature. And because you are chosen, the universe couldn't let you step through a doorway that wasn't prepared for your destiny. So it stalled you. It slowed you. It stopped you in your tracks, not to punish, but to protect. Because sometimes a pause is the only thing that prevents disaster. Think about it. A delayed flight could be saving you from the wrong encounter. A cancelled meeting could be shielding you from a false opportunity. A project on pause could be waiting for the right investor, the right partner, the right alignment that takes it from small impact to massive breakthrough. You see, Virgo, delay doesn't always mean denial. Sometimes delay means divine precision, and this is where most people fail the test. They see interruption as rejection, so they give up. But you didn't. You kept moving, even in the stop and go. You trusted, even when the road signs disappeared. And that is proof that you passed the exam. But here's the twist. What felt like a delay was actually acceleration. The universe wasn't slowing you down. It was lining you up. Those frustrating pauses were steering you toward a doorway you couldn't see yet. A doorway that once it opens will make you realize every interruption was a blessing in disguise. And when the Moon and Saturn align on October 4th, Virgo, that hidden doorway will reveal itself. You'll see clearly that nothing was lost. Everything was shifted to position you exactly where you were meant to be. The 6th sign, Virgo, that you passed your soul's most painful test was the test of lack. Your resources were stripped. The money you were counting on, it ran thin. The energy you usually rely on, it drained faster than you could restore it. The people you thought you could lean on, they vanished when you needed them most. And in that season, you asked yourself, am I cursed? Why is everything drying up at the exact moment I need it most? But here's the secret. This wasn't a curse. This was your firewalk. Scarcity was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to prove you, because anyone can be generous when their pockets are full. Anyone can trust when their energy is high. Anyone can believe when everything is flowing. But the chosen ones, they show their faith when the cup is empty. And Virgo, that's exactly what you did. You still gave, even when you barely had enough for yourself. You still trusted, even when all evidence said you shouldn't. You still believed, even when everything around you looked impossible. That's proof that you passed the test. Because lack doesn't break a chosen one, it forges them. Think about it. Seeds don't grow in abundance. They grow in burial. They grow when they are hidden in the dark, covered in dirt, surrounded by nothing. And yet, from that place of nothingness comes multiplication. Virgo, your season of lack wasn't empty. It was pregnant. Something was being planted in you. The universe stripped away the excess so that you could discover your true source, the one that doesn't run dry. And here's what most people miss. Lack is a setup. It's not the ending of provision, it's the positioning for abundance. Because when the harvest comes, only those who endured the drought know how to truly appreciate it, protect it, and multiply it. But here's the twist. What looked like loss was actually the seed of multiplication. Every dollar that slipped through your fingers, every ounce of energy you thought was wasted, every moment of support that disappeared, it wasn't gone. It was planted. And October 4th is when the harvest starts showing. Virgo, what once looked like emptiness is about to overflow. The cup that ran dry is about to run over. Because the test of lack was never about what you lost. It was about proving you were ready to receive more than you ever imagined. The 7th sign, Virgo, you received a message. It didn't come in the way you expected. Maybe it showed up in a dream that felt so vivid you woke up shaking. Maybe it was a line in a song that pierced straight into your chest like it was written for you. Or maybe it was a stranger's words, someone you'll never meet again. Yet somehow they said exactly what you needed in that exact moment. And you wondered, how could this be so perfectly timed? Virgo, that wasn't random. That wasn't coincidence. That was the universe marking your graduation paper. That was your sign that the season of testing wasn't wasted. Because when the universe sends a messenger, it's not to tease you, it's to confirm you, to whisper, you are not lost, you are not forgotten, You are being guided. And in that moment, you felt something shift. You knew deep down you weren't walking blind. Something higher was steering you through the storm. But let's pull back the curtain, Virgo, because here's the truth very few ever realize. The real messenger was never the dream, never the lyric, never the stranger. Those were just vehicles. The real messenger was you. Your higher self, your eternal soul, was the one sending those signals. It was you, from a higher dimension, planting breadcrumbs so the version of you walking through the fire wouldn't give up. Think about how powerful that is. The very guidance you thought was coming from outside, it was actually your own spirit reminding you, keep going. You're closer than you think. You've already won. That's why it felt so intimate, so eerily personal, because it was. It was you, Virgo, your higher self, reaching down to guide your human self across the finish line. And that's the ultimate proof that you passed the test. Because when you learn to recognize the voice of your own soul speaking through the world around you, you've officially stepped into alignment. So, Virgo, the unexpected messenger, was never a stranger at all. It was the eternal you, reminding you of what your human self almost forgot. You're chosen, you're guided, you're graduating into your miracle. And Virgo, the eighth and final sign was the calm. After months, maybe even years, of storm after storm, of battles that seemed endless, of nights where your pillow caught tears no one else ever saw, something shifted. One morning, you woke up and noticed it. The world hadn't magically changed. The bills were still there. The unanswered questions were still there. The people who left were still gone. But something inside you, it was different. You weren't chasing for answers anymore. You weren't begging for peace. You were peace. This is what most people don't understand, Virgo. True calm doesn't arrive when problems vanish. True calm arrives when problems lose their power to control you. That quiet strength that suddenly wrapped around you wasn't random. That was graduation energy. That was your soul signaling that the initiation had ended. You had endured the silence, survived the collapse, faced your shadow, walked alone, withstood the interruptions, endured lack, and even heard the messenger whisper. And now, the calm was your crown. It was the universe telling you, you no longer vibrate on the level of chaos. You no longer belong to the storm. You are now aligned with your destiny. Here's the truth, Virgo. Peace is not weakness. Peace is the highest proof of strength. Anyone can feel calm when life is easy, but only the chosen can feel calm when life is heavy, and still rise anyway. But here's the twist. This calm wasn't the end of the story. It was the doorway. It was the sacred pause before the Moon-Saturn conjunction unlocks what you've truly been waiting for. October 4th isn't just a date on a calendar. It's the moment where Saturn, the planet of karmic lessons, joins hands with the Moon, the keeper of your soul's emotions. And the fact that you reached this state of calm before that alignment, Virgo, that means you already passed. You already crossed the line that many never reach. The calm after chaos is not emptiness, it's readiness. It's your soul standing tall saying, I'm no longer shaken by storms. I am the storm breaker. And when the universe sees that, that's when it knows you're ready for your miracle. So Virgo, there you have it. The 8 hidden signs that prove you've already passed your soul's most painful test before the Moon-Saturn conjunction on October 4th, 2025. Let me remind you, these signs are not random. They are not coincidences. They are the universe's fingerprints, quietly confirming that you are one of the chosen. Silence, the terrifying quiet that felt like abandonment, but was actually your initiation. Collapse, the foundations that shook, the things that fell apart, all to make space for your destiny. Shadow, the fears and patterns that resurfaced, not to punish you, but to prove your mastery. Isolation, the shrinking of your circle, the feeling of being misunderstood, yet this solitude was your protection. Interruption, the delays, the cancellations, the frustrations, redirections toward the doorway you couldn't see. Scarcity, the moments when your cup ran empty, but your faith didn't, proving your alignment with the divine. Messenger, the eerie messages, dreams, lyrics, strangers' words, reminders from your higher self that you are guided. Calm, the peace after the storm, the quiet that showed your transformation, the signal that you are ready. All of these are proof, Virgo. Proof that before October 4th, 2025, you have already endured, survived and transcended the trials that would break most people. You've walked through fire, stood alone when everyone else left, faced your darkest fears and still rose stronger. Now I want you to pause for a moment, take a deep breath, look at your life and ask yourself, which of these 8 signs have I already lived? Drop your answer in the comments below. Share it, speak it into the world, because there is power in declaring your triumph. When you name it, you align yourself with the miracle that is waiting to unfold. Virgo, listen closely. October 4th is not a random date. It is the moment when the Moon and Saturn will meet, aligning your emotional wisdom with karmic timing. But you don't have to wait to be ready. You already are. Everything you endured, every test you faced, every shadow you confronted, it was preparation, it was calibration. It was your soul saying, you are ready for what's next. The universe doesn't test the weak. It doesn't hand out miracles to those who shy away from the storm. It tests the chosen. And Virgo, you, my friend, have already proven that you are one of them. So rise with confidence. Step into October 4th knowing this. You are aligned, prepared, and protected. The doorway is ready, the blessing is waiting, and your miracle is already on its way. Now speak your truth. Comment below which of these 8 signs you've experienced. Declare it, because when you do, you're not just remembering your journey, you're stepping fully into your destiny. Virgo, this is your moment. You've survived the test, and now the universe is ready to reward you.